It seems like you cannot listen to the news today, the business news, and not hear about companies doing layoffs, and not just their first set of layoffs. Many times it's another round of layoffs. And do you ever wonder how these leaders learn to manage these layoffs? They don't seem to be doing an awesome job. Well, welcome to today's episode of Dr. Patty Ann's podcast about real relationships. And today I want to address with you an issue that keeps coming up in my work with clients and with leaders as I'm coaching them through layoffs. Layoffs are a really, really difficult thing for managers and for leaders to lead through. What you are doing is, even though layoffs are usually done because the company is moving in a different direction or the numbers suggest that you need to become more efficient and more effective. And many times, laying off is very much a strategic business decision, which is fine. The issue is that leaders forget that they are dealing with humans. They are dealing with people. They are dealing with their livelihoods. And many times the people being laid off, you're not just impacting their individual personal ability to financially support themselves. Oftentimes you're impacting many other people because these people normally have families that count on them, if not to be the sole provider, at least one or another two providers of their financial support. So during today's podcast, I just want to provide you with 10 strategies on how you can lay off throughout this period with empathy, compassion, and being strategic. The very first strategy that you need to know, and you must remember, is to have empathy first and foremost. And I'll reiterate what I just said. You are laying people off. These are not just numbers on your spreadsheet, okay? You are directly impacting the lives of one, if not many people with just one layoff. So remember that as you are laying people off. And the best way to show empathy and genuine compassion is to communicate on a personal level. And what I mean by that is to set up one-on-one phone calls with the person that is being laid off. Now, listen, I can hear you saying, I have a massive structure here. There's so much going on. And I hear people are like, I don't have the time for that. Well, yes, you do. Mass layoffs, mass firing done through massive emails is an epic leadership failure. And I could go on and on about that all day long, but I won't. All I am saying is think about the way you would like to be treated if you were the person being laid off. And a one-on-one communication is the best way to do that. Not through emails, not through a massive gathering of people, one-on-one. Does it take a lot of time? Yes. You must create that time because not only are you giving respect and showing empathy for the person that you're laying off, you are also showing the people that are not being laid off that you care about everyone, not just the people that are currently working for you. So first and foremost, show empathy. And the best way to do that is to communicate to someone that they're being laid off. One-on-one communication, nothing mass. Secondly, be transparent. Communicate with your company the reasons behind the layoffs and the expected outcomes. And you can do this through a series of town halls where you share the reasons behind the layoffs, such as financial pressures, restructuring, or maybe you're even taking the company in a different strategic direction. Whatever the reason for the layoffs, it is imperative that you are transparent about that. Don't be secretive. because people are going to be guessing like crazy. And then also remember that provide detailed timelines and explain the selection criteria for whom is being laid off or what divisions are being laid off. Because if you're going in a different strategic direction, many times an entire division or vertical might be let go. So be transparent as to the reasons why you're letting people go. And this gets rid of rumor spreading and all the uncertainty that I guarantee you everybody is feeling. And remember, when people are spending their time feeling uncertain, feeling anxious, or they're wondering and they're talking about it, it's a huge distraction and productivity will go way down. So be transparent for the reasons for the layoff. 3, support the people that are being laid off, which is I mentioned earlier, but I want you to support them by providing a comprehensive support package that includes severance pay, extended health benefits, because health insurance is really expensive. So give them extended health benefits and provide them with outplacement and also career counseling. You can also organize job fairs and networking events, or let them know about job fairs and networking events. So provide support for the people that being let go. 4, you must articulate a clear vision for the organization post layoff. Develop and share a post layoff strategic plan that specifically outlines how the organization will navigate the post-layoff period, including steps to regain stability and ensure future growth initiatives. Highlight opportunities that will be forthcoming from the restructuring and how the remaining team will play a critical role in achieving new goals. Let the people that are remaining with the company know how they will add value and contribute to the future growth of the company. Otherwise, they're just going to be sitting there wondering, how long will it take for the next layoff to happen if they are not told their role and contributed to the vision of the company going forward. Okay, number 5, inclusivity. All right, involve employees in the decision-making process where appropriate. Before finalizing any layoff decisions, seek input from as many various and different layers within the organization that will help you understand the potential impact that layoffs will have in that group. Don't just go laying off without speaking to the teams that will be impacted by the layoffs, okay? And if you're cutting into the bone, you will need to think about perhaps other alternative ways of cost saving. The other way to include talking to as many people as possible before making the decision to lay off is perhaps you can send surveys or have brainstorming sections focused on efficiency improvements. All right, so you want to be as inclusive as is appropriate for the layoff decision-making process. Number 6, recognition. The people that are being laid off recognize their valuable contribution to the company prior to the layoff and to the team members that are not being laid off. This way, you will leave a legacy of people feeling good about working for the company and that they were appreciated and that they were valued, and that if the company is going in a different direction or if they need to make their numbers for whatever reason, the employees won't feel like they were taken advantage of, that they wasted their time. that nobody appreciated their contribution. So make sure you recognize the valuable work that the people that are being laid off did for the company, and that them being laid off is not a reflection so much on them as their worth, as much as where the company is moving forward. And people can appreciate that. 7, okay, be consistent. Create a policy that is consistent throughout the organization for everybody that is being laid off. Everybody needs to have shown the same fairness, dignity, and respect without playing favorites. The other thing is this policy should guide every step of the process, from how decisions are made, how they are communicated, and how they are implemented. You might need to conduct training for the leaders on how to carry out layoffs in a manner that aligns with these principles. Because remember, you will have leaders that have been down this road before and have had to lay people off, which doesn't mean they laid them off in the best way that they should. And you will also have leaders that have never had to lay anybody off before. So they will need help along the way. Okay? So create a policy and then help them implement that policy, because you want it to be consistent across the board. The 8th thing you want to do is you want to be adaptable. You want to be prepared to adjust strategies based on the feedback and the evolving situation. Maybe you were going to lay off one team, but then based upon the feedback that you got from people, because you were inclusive and you communicated to other leaders about their teams and how they would be impacted by the layoffs that you were suggesting, perhaps you will adapt and not lay those team people off, or not lay that vertical off, and adjust your strategy for moving forward. Okay? Don't be married to who is getting laid off until you get the input from how other teams are impacted. And then be open to adjusting to the post-layoff plan based upon this feedback. And enhance support for the remaining employees who will be giving a redistribution of their work. Okay, and let me say this very clearly, because this is important. If you are going to expect the people that are remaining to pick up the lion's share of the workload of their colleagues that were laid off, you cannot expect your employees to do that without you financially compensating them now. Not 6 months from now, not a year from now, but at the moment that you perhaps double or triple or increase in any significant capacity their workload. Otherwise, your remaining employees will feel dumped on. Believe me, I've heard it a million times. So respect the workload of your employees, especially if they are taking on more work because of the people being let go. Don't forget that. That's very important. The 9th sign of really great leadership when laying people off is to face the difficult decisions head on as the leader and take responsibility for the outcomes. Show courage by personally leading the communication efforts across the layoffs rather than delegating it to HR. I cannot overemphasize that enough. Nobody wants to be laid off through an HR interview. The leadership of the employee being laid off is the one that should be doing the laying off. You want to have HR there with you? Okay, fine. But they should not be the main messenger. When you're laying people off, have the courage to acknowledge the pain and the disruption that you know laying them off will cause, and take responsibility for the decision. Explain why it's necessary for the long-term health of the company, for perhaps the new strategic division of the company, without minimizing the fact that you know that The person being laid off probably doesn't care about that. You as a leader have to care about that while also emphasizing how you care about them as people as well. This is not an easy needle to thread, but as a leader, this is your responsibility. And then finally, when laying off, you must keep the organization's future in mind by having a long-term focus. Make sure you stay strategically aligned with the vision of the company as you are making these very difficult short-term decisions when you lay people off. You might want to implement a mentorship program or a talent initiative for your remaining employees, so you let them know that you care about their growth and development, and you can respect and understand the challenging environment that they are in. When you do this, you will show the company that you are showing a commitment to their growth so that they can individually grow, and that will in turn build a more successful and a resilient organization. So I have gotten so much feedback from people I coach, leaders that I coach, talking about layoffs, how it really, for many of them, hurts their heart, and yet they know that it's something that they have to do, and yet many people have not been taught the appropriate way to lay off. So I just wanted to share that information with people on this podcast, and I'll just enumerate the 10 behaviors that leaders must exhibit when they are laying people off. They must demonstrate empathy. They must be transparent. They need to show genuine support and make sure that they're articulating a clear vision for the company. They must be inclusive in the layoff decision-making process. They need to recognize the valuable work of the contributions that the laid off people made to the company. You must be adaptable and being able to pivot based upon feedback you're getting from people, from the other leaders and managers in the organization. You must have the courage to take responsibility for the layoffs and the fact that you understand how it will impact not only the people being laid off, but the people that remain in the organization. And then you must, as a leader, be committed to the long-term focus of the strategic vision for the company post-layoffs. All right. So I hope this podcast helps. And that concludes today's episode of Dr. Patty Ann's podcast, where we talk about real relationships. And until I see you next time, be well.